I stood completely still for 3 long seconds as the cold water drenched the driveway. The heavy storm hammered against the concrete while water ran down Isla's dark hair, over her pale face, and into the thin cotton dress clinging to her shaking body. Her trembling hands were folded tightly in her lap as she sat there. Her bare knees were pressed deeply into the sharp gravel of the driveway. I walked closer to her and spoke her name softly into the wind. "Isla," I said. She looked up at me, and the absolute terror in her eyes made something old and dangerous wake up deep inside my soul. Her voice broke into a desperate whisper as she recognized me. "Mom, you were not supposed to come here tonight." That single sentence told me everything I needed to know about the nightmare she was living. I parked my old black sedan crookedly across their perfect concrete driveway, and stepped out without an umbrella. The freezing rain soaked through my heavy winter coat immediately, but I barely felt the chill. I saw the bright red mark on her delicate cheek where someone had struck her. I saw the dark mud staining the fabric of her dress. I also noticed the brand new navy blue dress, which was still sitting inside its torn paper shopping bag, lying beside her on the wet ground like a piece of evidence. Inside the brightly lit house, through the large glass window, I saw my son-in-law Gavin raising a crystal wineglass and a toast. His wealthy mother, Penelope, sat at the head of the long dining table like a queen ruling over her court. His arrogant father, Lawrence, leaned back in his expensive chair with a wide grin on his face. Gavin's younger sister Cassandra recorded something on her smartphone, probably capturing Isla's public punishment to turn it into another little family joke. I looked down at my daughter and asked if they had done this simply because she bought a piece of clothing. "For buying a dress?" I asked. Isla lowered her head in deep shame as the rain continued to pour over us. "It was bought with my own hard-earned money, Mom," she whispered. I reached down to touch her shoulder gently so she would look at me. "Look at me, sweetie," I commanded softly. She lifted her tear-stained face to meet my gaze. I needed to know the full extent of what they had done to her. "Did he hit you?" I asked. Her painful silence answered my question long before she could find the words to speak. Then she whispered her husband's cruel words into the darkness. "Gavin said that wives who waste money should learn true humility." I looked at the massive house again, noting the 5 large bedrooms, the grand marble porch, and the imported crystal chandelier hanging in the hallway. It was exactly the kind of luxurious home that ordinary people worshipped from the street as they passed by. They had completely forgotten whose massive fortune had built this place from the ground up. When Isla married Gavin, I had forced myself to smile through every single insult they threw at me. Penelope openly called me a simple woman who did not belong in high society. Lawrence asked if my late husband had left me anything besides sentimental clutter and worthless memories. Gavin once joked at Sunday dinner that I looked like a common woman who clipped coupons for sport. I let them think whatever they wanted because it served my purpose. People who underestimate your intelligence always speak freely in front of you. People who speak freely eventually hand you the very weapons that will destroy them. For 8 months, Isla had been handing me fragments without realizing it. A cancelled Sunday lunch because Gavin said she was too emotional to see family. A long-sleeved blouse in July. A bank alert that flashed on her phone before she turned it face down. Each clue was small enough to explain away, and Isla always had an explanation ready. She had become very skilled at protecting the person hurting her. I knew that skill because I had once used it myself. Isla's father, Henry, had never struck me, but before we built our company together, I spent 3 years with a man who controlled which friends I saw, counted every dollar in my purse, and called jealousy love. I remembered the strange exhaustion of translating cruelty into misunderstandings for people who were trying to help. So I did not demand that Isla leave. Demands were already the language of her house. I made sure she knew my door was open, and then I began documenting everything I could lawfully see. The first break came when Gavin sent her an automated demand for her entire salary and accidentally copied the notice to an old family email address I still administered. Then Penelope texted instructions about covering the purple area near the jaw. Before a charity luncheon, Cassandra uploaded a private video of Gavin taking Isla's debit card while the family laughed. She deleted it 6 minutes later. 6 minutes was enough for the shared cloud archive to preserve it. I called my attorney, Mr. Davenport, that same night. He told me suspicion could protect a mother, but evidence could protect a daughter. Together we built a record. Dates, screenshots, bank transfers, photographs Isla had sent and forgotten. I changed nothing about the trust, because Henry and I had created it before the wedding precisely to keep the property beyond Gavin's control. I simply prepared to enforce what had always been true. Then Isla left me a voice note at 60:12 that evening. She did not speak. For 43 seconds, I heard rain, Gavin shouting about a dress, and Penelope telling someone to put her outside until she learned gratitude. The message ended with a sharp sound and my daughter's cry. That was when patience ended. I called the police from the car. I called Davenport at the first red light. Then I drove through the storm with the voice note playing over and over, terrified I would arrive 1 minute too late. I bent down into the wet gravel, sliding one arm under Isla's trembling shoulders and the other under her knees. She gasped in panic and tried to push me away. "No, Mom, please leave before he sees you because he will only get worse," she begged. I lifted her off the ground as if she were 5 years old again, feeling how small and feverish she was in my arms. "He will not get the chance to touch you after tonight," I promised her. The sound of the cruel laughter inside the dining room grew louder as we approached the porch. I carried my daughter up the grand marble steps and kicked the front door open so hard that the heavy wooden frame cracked under the impact. I walked directly into the formal dining room, dripping cold rainwater across their perfectly polished hardwood floor. Gavin stood up from his chair first, his face twisting in sudden anger. "What the hell do you think you are doing in my house?" he demanded. I looked at every single one of them sitting around the table, and said words they would never be able to forget. "You picked the wrong mother," I said clearly. For one beautiful second, absolutely nobody in the room breathed as they stared at us. Then Penelope burst into a sharp, rich, and incredibly ugly laugh that filled the elegant space. "Oh, listen to her trying to sound brave," Penelope sneered as she looked at me. "The coupon queen actually has a dramatic speech prepared for us." Gavin's mouth twisted into a cruel sneer as he pointed at his wife. "Put my wife down right now," he ordered. I set Isla down gently on the expensive velvet sofa and calmly took off my soaked winter coat. My hands were perfectly steady as I folded the wet fabric. That absolute calmness seemed to bother them much more than if I had started shouting at them. Lawrence pointed an angry finger at the broken entrance. "You are going to pay every single dollar for that ruined door," he barked. "No," I replied smoothly as I turned to look at him. "You are the ones who will pay for everything." Gavin took a confident step toward me, wearing an expensive suit while radiating drunk confidence. "This is a private family matter, so you need to turn around and leave," he said. I looked past his shoulder to where my daughter sat shivering on the couch. "Does a real family force you to kneel out in the freezing rain?" I asked him. His sister, Cassandra, snorted with amusement as she adjusted her position. "She is just being dramatic because Gavin was simply teaching her some necessary boundaries," she claimed. "Did he need to teach her boundaries with sharp gravel?" I countered. Penelope lifted her crystal wineglass to her lips and took a slow sip. Isla knew the strict rules when she chose to marry into this respectable family, she said coldly. "Appearances matter to people of our social standing, and proper discipline matters just as much. A good wife does not embarrass her husband by wasting money on trashy little dresses," she continued. Isla's face completely crumpled as she listened to her mother-in-law humiliate her. That was the exact moment when Gavin made his first real mistake of the night. He let a smug smile spread across his handsome face. "She is incredibly lucky that I decided to keep her around at all," Gavin said boastfully. "Your daughter came into this marriage with absolutely nothing to her name." I turned my eyes directly to him, letting the cold fury settle into my expression. I want you to say that exact sentence to me again. I challenged him. He leaned closer to my face, his breath smelling heavily of expensive wine. She brought nothing, he repeated. I smiled back at him with absolute certainty. His smug smile began to fade as he noticed the lack of fear in my expression. Cassandra raised her smartphone higher to get a better angle of the confrontation. This scandalous video is going straight online for everyone to see, she threatened. It will be titled "Crazy Mother-in-Law Attacks Respectable Family," and everyone will laugh at you, she added. That is a wonderful idea, so please keep recording every single word, I told her. Her thumb froze over the screen in sudden confusion. Gavin recovered his arrogant composure quickly and pointed toward the broken exit. Get out of my sight before I call the police to have you arrested for trespassing, he threatened. There is no need for that because I already called them myself, I informed him. The temperature in the lavish dining room seemed to go completely freezing in an instant. Penelope lowered her wineglass slowly, her perfect composure slipping. You did what? She asked. I called the authorities while I was on my way here, I explained. I glanced at the grand-grandfather clock ticking loudly in the corner of the room. They should arrive in just a few minutes, but before they get here, we should have a serious talk about money, I suggested. Lawrence barked a loud laugh that sounded entirely forced. You want to talk about money, especially yours, he mocked. Yes, we are going to talk about my money, I replied firmly. Gavin shook his head in disgust and looked over at the sofa. Isla, tell your ridiculous mother to leave this house right now before she embarrasses herself completely, he ordered. Isla tried to stand up on her bleeding knees, but I reached down and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Stay right there, sweetheart, I told her. Then I opened my leather handbag and placed 3 distinct things onto the polished dining table. I laid down a silver flash drive, a thick manila envelope, and a small black voice recorder. Gavin stared down at the items on the table as if they were dangerous venomous snakes. Penelope's voice thinned out until it sounded sharp and strained. What is the meaning of this nonsense? She demanded. This is my insurance policy against people like you, I answered. The little black recorder had successfully captured every single word spoken since I stepped inside this room. The silver flash drive held 8 full months of Isla's forwarded text messages, bank transfers, hidden photographs, and desperate voice notes. The thick manila envelope contained official legal documents that were signed 5 years ago, long before Gavin ever slid a wedding ring onto my daughter's finger. I turned my gaze directly toward the father. Do you happen to remember a company named Pembroke Holdings? I asked Lawrence. His older face twitched with sudden anxiety. Penelope blinked in confusion as she looked at her husband. What kind of ridiculous nonsense are you talking about now? She snapped. Pembroke Holdings is the specific shell company that legally owns this entire 5-bedroom house, I explained smoothly. It also owns the luxury vehicle showroom where Gavin works, and the commercial building where Lawrence's firm rents 3 full floors. Gavin's face instantly drained of all its color until he looked like a ghost. Isla stared at me with wide eyes from the couch. Mom, she whispered in total shock. I reached over and squeezed her cold hand to reassure her. Your father and I built much more than sentimental clutter before he passed away, I told her. Lawrence stood up so quickly that his heavy leather chair scraped backward loudly against the hardwood floor. You are lying through your teeth, he shouted. I do not lie, I simply prefer to keep my private business out of the public eye, I replied. The heavy rain continued to flash aggressively against the large windows. The high-pitched sirens of police cars began to howl faintly in the far distance, growing louder with every passing second. Gavin turned around and glared fiercely at his wife. Did you tell her about our private business? He hissed. Isla flinched away from his aggressive tone. I stepped directly between them to block his view of her. No, she did not have to tell me anything because you did it yourself, I stated clearly. You told me every single time you sent her aggressive bank alerts demanding her entire paycheck. You told me every time your mother texted her detailed instructions on how to hide her facial bruises with thick concealer. I continued. You told me every time you bragged in my own kitchen that women were much easier to control after marriage. Penelope's painted lips parted in absolute horror as she realized what she had done. You honestly thought I was just a simple old woman pouring tea for you, I said very softly. In reality, I was listening to every single word. Cassandra slowly lowered her smartphone and stopped recording the scene. Do not stop filming now, I told her with a cold smile. This is easily the best part of the entire show. Gavin suddenly lunged forward across the table to grab the thick manila envelope. I slapped his hand away with a sharp crack before he could touch the paperwork. He stared at me in complete stun, looking as if he believed that physical pain was something that only belonged to other people. The broken wooden doorframe groaned loudly as a strong gust of wind blew through the house. Bright blue and red emergency lights began to wash across the expensive dining room walls. I leaned in close enough for him to hear my voice clearly over the roaring storm outside. Now I want you to kneel, I commanded him. And you better pray that the police officers arrive before my personal lawyer does. The uniform officers entered through the shattered doorway with rainwater dripping from their heavy shoulders and authority in their deep voices. Gavin changed his demeanor instantly as soon as he saw the badges. His aggressive rage folded neatly into an artificial charm that he usually saved for his clients. His hands lifted into the air in a peaceful gesture, and his tone softened dramatically. Officers, thank God you are finally here, Gavin said with a relieved smile. My unstable mother-in-law forced her way into our home and physically assaulted my entire family. Penelope reached up to touch her expensive pearls with a trembling hand. She is completely mentally unstable and dangerous, she claimed. Cassandra nodded her head too quickly in agreement. We have the entire incident captured on video, she added. That is wonderful to hear, I said calmly to the officers. Because I also have a complete recording of what happened. I reached down and pressed the play button on the small black voice recorder sitting on the table. Gavin's arrogant voice immediately filled the tense room. She is incredibly lucky that I decided to keep her around at all, because your useless daughter came into this marriage with absolutely nothing to her name. The recording blasted clearly. Then Penelope's sharp voice filled the space. A good wife does not embarrass her husband by wasting money on trashy little dresses, her recorded voice stated. Finally, Isla's frightened whisper from the front porch played, which the device had captured when I first knelt beside her in the rain. Gavin said that wives who waste money should learn true humility. Her small voice echoed through the room. The police officers' faces hardened instantly as they listened to the audio evidence. Gavin's fake charm cracked completely, revealing his panic. That recording is completely taken out of context, he stammered. I picked up the silver flash drive and handed it directly to the lead officer. On this drive, you will find clear photographs of her physical injuries, threatening text messages, evidence of financial coercion, and a specific video taken by Cassandra just 30 minutes before I arrived, I explained. Cassandra's face went completely pale as she looked at me. That is impossible because I deleted that specific video from my phone, she stammered. You did delete it from your device, but you forgot that your phone automatically uploaded it to your shared family cloud account, I informed her. Lawrence whispered a desperate prayer under his breath. Jesus, he muttered. I turned my head slightly to look at him. He is far too busy to help you right now, I remarked. Penelope stood up straight, trying to regain her regal posture. This entire situation is completely absurd because we have the best corporate attorneys in the city, she blustered. That is fine because I also have an excellent attorney, I replied. Right on cue, my smartphone began to ring loudly in my hand. I pressed the button to answer the call on the speakerphone so everyone could hear. Mrs. Pembroke, a calm and professional male voice asked over the line. This is Mr. Davenport calling to confirm that all emergency petitions have been officially filed with the court. The lawyer continued. The temporary protective order request is signed and ready for delivery. The immediate lease termination notices for Gavin Crest Designs and Lawrence Crest Consulting will be formally served tomorrow morning at dawn," he explained. "Also, per your explicit instructions, we have already notified the federal bank regarding suspected marital asset coercion and financial abuse." Gavin grabbed the edge of the mahogany table so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "You cannot possibly touch my business because it is my private property," he shouted at the phone. "I own the actual commercial building where your showroom is located," I told him plainly. "And you have explicitly violated 3 separate clauses of your commercial lease agreement." Lawrence rounded on his son with an expression of pure fury. "You told us that this old woman was completely broke and harmless," he yelled. Gavin shouted back in desperation. "She was absolutely supposed to be broke. There it was for everyone to hear. It was the exact sentence that completely ended his life as he knew it." The lead police officer looked up from his notebook with a stern expression. "What exactly do you mean by supposed to be, sir?" he questioned. I opened the thick manila envelope and slid out the final legal document onto the table. "Before the wedding took place," I stated, "Gavin pressured my daughter Isla to sign a prenuptial agreement to away any claim to his personal assets. He told her it was for his own financial protection, so I decided to take steps to protect her as well," I continued. Isla stared at the legal paper with wide, realizing eyes. "This entire 5-bedroom house was placed into a private real estate trust," I explained to the officers. "The trust was created exclusively for Isla, not for Gavin. He only had legal permission to reside here as her current spouse," I added. "That legal permission ends completely tonight." Penelope staggered back a few steps as if she had been physically struck by a heavy blow. "This is our family home and you cannot do this," she gasped. "No," Isla said suddenly from the sofa. Everyone in the room turned around to look at her. She stood up very slowly, allowing the rainwater to drip from her cotton dress onto the pristine white rug that Penelope loved more than actual human beings. Her left cheek was visibly bruised and her knees were still bleeding from the gravel. Despite her injuries, her voice came out remarkably clear and strong. "It was never your home," Isla said firmly. Gavin took an aggressive step toward her. "Isla, do not be incredibly stupid about this," he warned. The nearest police officer immediately stepped into his path and blocked him from moving any closer to her. I walked over to the couch and handed the legal folder directly to my daughter. "You are the owner, so you get to decide what happens next," I told her. Her hands trembled significantly, but she opened the folder anyway. The entire silent room watched her read through the trust deed, the emergency court filings, the detailed bank account statements, the photographs of her bruises, and the printed text messages. Then she lifted her head and looked directly into her husband's eyes. "I want him removed from this property immediately," Isla told the officers. Penelope gasped loudly in offense. "After absolutely everything that we have done for you in this house," she demanded. Isla let out a single laugh that was not happy at all, but it sounded completely free. "You actually mean everything that you have done to me," Isla corrected her. Gavin was formally arrested and placed in handcuffs before midnight after he foolishly tried to shove past a police officer to reach the silver flash drive on the table. Cassandra began to cry loudly when she finally realized that her own phone recordings would help prove the domestic abuse in a court of law. Lawrence spent the rest of the night yelling about massive lawsuits until my attorney reminded him that his firm's unpaid commercial rent, fraudulent business invoices, and forged maintenance claims were already fully documented in our files. Penelope sat alone at the long dining table, completely silent at last, as her dark mascara ran into the deep lines of her aging face. By the time dawn arrived, Isla was fast asleep in my quiet guest room under 3 thick wool blankets. I sat quietly in the chair beside her bed until her physical shaking finally stopped completely. Leaving the house did not end what Gavin had done. The next morning, Isla apologized for bleeding on my sheets. At breakfast, she asked permission before taking a second piece of toast. When my phone rang, she dropped her cup because she thought it might be him. Abuse had trained her body to expect punishment even in a room where nobody was angry. I wanted to promise she would never feel afraid again, but survivors deserve honest promises. I told her fear might visit for a while. Shame might too. Neither one would be allowed to move in permanently. The first week was made of practical things: a medical examination, photographs taken by a nurse, an interview with a domestic violence advocate, new passwords, frozen accounts, long meetings with attorneys who explained choices without making them for her. Isla slept with the hallway light on, and every night I left my bedroom door open. On the 9th day, she asked to hear the voice recording from the dining room. I warned her that it might hurt. She listened anyway. When Gavin's recorded voice said she had brought nothing into the marriage, Isla closed her eyes. Then her own voice came through the speaker, telling the officers she wanted him removed. "Play that part again," she whispered. I did. She listened to herself choose freedom 3 times. Then Isla asked the question I had feared: why didn't I leave sooner? I took her hands and told her she had been surviving inside a system designed to confuse endurance with love. Gavin hurt her, apologized, blamed her, and then offered brief tenderness as proof that the cruel version of him was not real. But both versions were real. The tenderness did not cancel the harm, it helped keep her close enough for the harm to continue. "You did not fail because it took time," I said. "You succeeded the moment you believed you were allowed to choose yourself." She cried then. Not the frightened, silent tears I had seen in the driveway, but deep sobs that seemed to carry months of swallowed words out of her body. I held her without telling her to be strong. She had been strong for far too long in all the wrong ways. After that, the changes were tiny but unmistakable. She stopped asking whether she was allowed to call friends. She bought bright flowers without checking the price with anyone. She began therapy and slowly recovered the version of herself that used to sing badly while cooking. One afternoon, she took the navy dress out of its ruined paper bag. Mud stained the hem, but the fabric was intact. "I think I still want it," she said. We took it to a tailor, not because a dress mattered more than everything else, but because Gavin had tried to make it evidence of disobedience. Isla chose to make it evidence that her choices still belonged to her. 3 months later, the large house on the hill looked completely different than it did before. The expensive crystal chandelier was completely gone from the hallway. Penelope's formal portraits were gone, along with Gavin's expensive mahogany whiskey cabinet, Lawrence's heavy leather chairs, and every single cruel little object they had once used to make Isla feel small and worthless. In their place, the rooms were filled with green plants, warm glowing lamps, rows of books, and a beautiful blue dress hanging gracefully by the large window. Isla wore that exact blue dress when she walked into the courtroom for the final hearing. Gavin realized he had no escape and officially took a legal plea deal. He received a strict restraining order, a long period of probation, mandatory behavioral counseling, and a permanent criminal record. His luxury vehicle showroom business collapsed completely within weeks after the immediate lease termination, and the public scandal ruined his reputation. The court also ordered restitution for the money he had taken from Isla's salary. When the first payment arrived, she donated part of it to the advocate who had sat beside her during every interview. "I want the next woman to have someone in the room," she told me. That was the moment I knew Gavin had failed at the one thing he wanted most. He had not made her smaller. He had made her determined to help someone else stand. Lawrence's consulting firm lost every single one of its wealthy clients due to the legal exposure. Cassandra deleted all of her social media accounts out of intense public shame. Penelope was forced to move into a tiny condominium with walls that were thin enough for her new neighbors to hear her complain about her life every single day. Isla kept the beautiful 5-bedroom house all to herself. I made sure to visit her every single Sunday afternoon. One warm afternoon, a soft rain began to fall gently over the green garden outside the porch. Isla stepped out onto the wooden deck, lifted her face up toward the gray sky, and let a genuine smile spread across her face. "Do you still hate the rain, sweetheart?" I asked her as I walked out to join her. She shook her head slowly as she watched the water drops fall on the flowers. No, she replied softly. Now the rain simply reminds me that I survived the worst storm of my life. I reached out and took her hand in mine, squeezing it gently. Inside the beautiful house, there was absolutely no cruel laughter aimed at her pain. There were no harsh orders given by arrogant people, and there was absolutely no fear lingering in the hallways. There was only a deep and beautiful sense of peace. And that quiet peace, in the absolute end of it all, was truly the sweetest revenge we could have ever wanted. If you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video with them. Thank you for being here. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.